So there are a lot of other ways of actually showing triangles are congruent. And in fact, part of the deal for us when we look at these things, when we're trying to prove two triangles are congruent, is to figure out what information we're given and how we can exploit all these different possible ways of establishing congruences of triangles. So let me show you another new way that you can use whenever you want. It's called the angle-side-angle congruence, sometimes abbreviated ASA. And what does it say? It says, if two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So what does that mean? It means that if I have one angle congruent to a corresponding angle, and then a side congruent to another side, and then the next angle over, so the two angles that flank that congruent side, if those corresponding angles are congruent, then we have angle, side, angle, and therefore the triangles themselves are congruent. So notice that it's this flanking business, angle, side, angle. We have a side, and then we look at the two angles flanking. They have to be congruent to the corresponding flanking two angles here. If you've got that, you're all set. Let's take a look at an example. So here's a question. Suppose that we just know these facts. I'm thinking of some triangle. I know the angle of A is 90 degrees, the angle of B is 20, and I know that the length of the segment AB is 4 centimeters. Does that uniquely determine the triangle? Well, let's try to draw it. So I see it's a right triangle, so I'm going to make it a right triangle. So this is A, B, C. This angle is 90. This angle has measure 20 degrees. And we know that AB has length 4. How many triangles can there be? Well, it turns out we've got angle, side, angle fixed. That means that there's no possible way of having another triangle that has the property that this angle is 90, this length is 4, and this angle has measure 20, and yet not be congruent to this. It's impossible. Why? Because if you had any two triangles that had 90 degrees, length 4, and 20 degrees, those would be congruent by angle, side, angle. So this information uniquely determines the triangle up to congruence relationships. So great. That is angle, side, angle.